Hey, Alan. Alan, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
Pretty good. I read 10 chapters today because I didn't want to go out and drive.
I mean,
Haven't,
well, you read 10 chapters of the Padma Purana.
yeah, they're not very long. Some of them are longer, but most of them aren't very long. Some of them are like 5 minutes. But yeah, it's a good book.
I finished Avatar art.
Yeah, what kind of art do they deal with?
Just the Krishna, just basically like they'll go on basic pictures of like Krishna, and then they'll go like in the beginning where they'll even put um about like the avatars and then which ones are, and then they go like on Shiva's pastimes, and then they'll show a little. They showed one like of sages, like one was underneath the water for 100,000 years, and then he woke up and saw what he looked like.
He
There
must have been
was
wrinkled.
Yeah, he was wrinkled and he was covered in mildew and all kinds of stuff. And then there was the Krishna main ones, like where like he runs to his parents, like Yasoda. And then
Oh yeah,
there's um
Murli Dar painted that picture. That's a wonderful picture. It's
yeah, and
got
then
Yashoda and Nanda standing there, and Nanda's wearing like a green coat.
yeah,
And
and then they show like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu
yeah,
pictures.
yeah.
It goes
And
on like
Mati and
what.
Kurma and Nisringa and all those other ones, right?
Yeah, they even showed like Kerma the turtle too. They showed like even like the one with like all the Krishna's avatars and like of Rama, like, and then they showed this one like with Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu where those the two armed form of Rama with bow and arrow, and then the other one was two formed with Krishna's arms, which was flute. Then the rest was Radha.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if this Trevor is going to join us. He was really interested. He seems like an intelligent young man.
Well,
Uh,
we can get started then until
yeah,
if
yeah, we're
anybody
not
else
going to
comes
wait
on.
for him, you know.
All right.
So we're starting on the fourth chapter right now. The
Yeah.
fourth chapter, first canto, which is pretty awesome. It's about Narada Muni,
Yeah.
transcendental spaceman.
Uh, wow. And also, real quick, like, yeah, the guy who wrote Jedi of the Lotus wrote Avatar art, Stephen Rawson.
Right, right. Satyaraj. Yeah, sometimes he shows up in New Vrindavan at the festivals just to sell his books.
They're
Let's see
very
here.
good. They are very good.
Yeah, anything about Krishna is good. He writes a lot. Okay, so you know the drill.
Yeah.
It's going to start out here. Appearance of Sri Narada. He's the transcendental spaceman. He can go anywhere in the universe to anywhere else in the split second with no effort at all. That'd be nice, right?
Yeah.
My wife would like that. She wants one of those. I think they have them on the market now. They're called flying cars.
Yeah.
You could go above the traffic. Because she drives all over Hell's Half Acre. But a lot of times there's traffic. But it'd be nice to be able to like go immediately to the spiritual world. That would be awesome. Check out, see Krishna and then go to other places. Go to see Shiva and must be nice.
Yeah.
But and all he did in order to do that is like he was a son of a maidservant in a previous kalpa and like a previous creation billions of years ago. And his mother was serving sages, and he helped her with the sages, and he asked them for permission to take some of the remnants of their prasad. And so as a result of doing that, he became Narada Muni. That's how potent Prasadam is.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
because he was like he wasn't really interested in sports or anything like that or anything else. He was just attracted by their talking about Krishna, and so he became the the chief demigod. I mean, he's like the instructor of all instructors. He's like the traveling instructor of everybody. He's one of the Mahajans. There's 12 Mahajans, and there's Brahma, Narada, Vyas, Shukadev, all these different Mahajans, and he's one of them. They're the ones that know everything about Krishna. In fact, Vyasadeva was his father, and this chapter will talk about how, Vyasadeva was kind of dissatisfied because he's writing all these books in different modes of nature, like the Puranas I'm reading now. The Padma Purana is in the mode of goodness. There's other Puranas that are meant for people in the mode of ignorance and the mode of passion, and a lot of them have to do with fruitive activities. Like you want something and you ask for Lord Shiva. You go to a holy place and you take a bath and offer, some sesame seeds to your forefathers or something, and then you get to have a healthy body, a beautiful body, or a wife, or a son, or riches, or if you're a Kshatriya, you get to conquer the world, or whatever you want. You can get all these things, but a devotee doesn't want anything. He just wants to serve Krishna, and that's what Narada Muni taught Vyasadeva. He was kind of dissatisfied. He said, "You're not really talking that much about Krishna, so why don't you talk about Krishna, and that will satisfy you." And so he compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam as a result. Narada Muni came down and just he told him the reason for his dissatisfaction. And so this what this chapter is about. Text 1. Vyasavacha iti brahvam nam samstutya muninam dirgda satrinam vrida kalapati sutam bhavricha shonakol. Synonyms. Vyasadeva Vacha said, iti thus, Bruvanam speaking, samstutya congratulating, Muninam of the great sages, Durga prolonged, Satrinam of those engaged in the performance of sacrifice, Vrida elderly, Kula Pati head of the assembly, Sutam unto Suta Goswami, Bahurisha learned, Shonaka of the name Shonaka, Abravit address, translation. Vyasadeva said, on hearing Suta Goswami speak thus, Shonaka Muni, who was the elderly learned leader of all the rishis engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Suta Goswami by addressing him as follows. Good.
The purport. In a meeting of learned men, when there are congratulations or addresses for the speaker, the qualifications of the congratulator should be as follows. He must be leader of the house and an elderly man. He must be vastly learned also. Sri is this Sanakana Rishi had all these qualifications, and thus he stood up to congratulate Sri Suta Goswami when he expressed his desire to present Srimad Bhagavatam exactly as he heard it from Sukadeva Goswami, and he also realized it personally. Personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous acharya. He must have full confidence in the previous acharya, and at the same time he must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstances in a suitable manner. The original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it, yet it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. The leader of the assembly, Sanakana, could estimate the value of the speaker, Sri Suda Goswami, simply by his uttering
Yataditam and Yatamati.
and therefore he was very glad to congratulate him in ecstasy. No learned man should be willing to hear a person who does not represent the original Charya. So the speaker and the audience were bona fide in this meeting where Bhagavatam was being recited for the second time. That should be the standard of recitation of the Bhagavatam so that the real purpose can be served without difficulty unless the situation is created. The Bhagavatam recitation for extraneous purposes is useless labor, both of the speaker and the audience.
Yeah, this is a really important point. See where he says that the sentence there, it says the original, it's in italics, the original purpose of the text must be maintained. So we can't think that we can surpass, what when the factory of our tiny brains, if we think that we're more intelligent than Vyasadeva or Shukadev Goswami. I mean, these are vastly learned, connected to Krishna personalities that are, they understand the past and the present and future. We don't even know what's on the other side of our eyelid. We have no idea. We don't even know what a potato is meant for. Like when I was, we're at a restaurant one time, my friend and I, and it was like a fast food restaurant. We're trying to order a cheese sandwich because they've had all meat and there wasn't any meat, vegetarian sandwiches. This is back in the 80s. And I said, well, can you just make one without the meat? And the guy just like started sweating almost, because he couldn't figure out how to do it. And so he called the manager over, and we asked him, you could just put you could charge the same price, just don't put the meat in it. He said, no, we can't do that. So these guys can't even make a friggin' cheese sandwich. So how are they going to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam? How are they going to understand Shukadev Goswami and Vyasadeva? You have to first give them the brains to understand by, kind of like presenting them, with, if they're submissive and they hear and they're willing to learn, then they can understand. But otherwise, people nowadays are so dull, they can't understand anything. But that's a really important point that, we just like in the Bhagavad Gita sessions that we did like more than 100 sessions. And in each session, I quoted Prabhupada at the top of the graphic that I would present. I would like do an advertisement for it on Facebook. And it said, it's not we're manufacturing anything. We're just presenting what we're preaching. This is Bhagavad Gita as it is. We have not manufactured anything. So you can't manufacture Dharma. Dharma is presented by God. God alone is he says, in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Vedantavit, Vedavit, Edava Chaham. I'm the knower of the Vedas. I'm the speaker of the Vedas. And there's nobody else that can create religion. Religion is what it is. It's always the same since time immemorial. It's created from God. He's eternal, and religion is eternal. So anybody that deviates from that and thinks that they have such a, going to create their own religion, like Scientology or some other crap nonsense, they're just full of it, and they're just misleading people. And so we have to follow the authorities. We're not the authorities ourselves. Just Prabhupada says, what is my opinion? People think, in my opinion, it should be like this. So what is the use of your opinion? You're just, Prabhupada said, I'm a dull man. I don't know anything. I'm following the authorities. So we have to follow the authorities. That's the sum and substance of this verse here. Text 2, Shonako Vacha, Sisuta Mahabhagavadan no Vadatambara, Katam Bhagavatam Punyam, Yadaha Bhagavan Shuka. Synonyms. Shonaka Uvacha said, Sutta, O Sutta Goswami, Mahabhaga, the most fortunate, Vada, please speak, na unto us, Vadatam, of those who can speak, Vara, respected, Katam, message, Bhagavatim, of the Bhagavatam, Punyam, pious, yet which, Aha, said, Bhagavan, greatly powerful, Sukadev Goswami. Sukadev Goswami, you know, when he spoke this, you know how old he was?
Mm,
There are so many elderly, saintly persons from all over the universe on the
he was
banks of
old.
Ganges watching, you know, Parikshit Maharaj, who was a great king. He was the king of the earth, and he was fasting until death because he was cursed. And he was voluntarily not counteracting that curse. He just voluntarily decided to fast until death because he thought he was an offender for this Brahmana. So Shukadev Goswami was 16 years old. But
16 years old. He was only 16 years old.
At the time he spoke this Bhagavatam, he was 16.
Wow.
And he was like, he came upon the scene and everybody could immediately recognize, even though he was naked, he didn't have any clothes on, but he was being followed by some children and some women and some animals and stuff. But then, you know, they're all following him. And then they saw that he was approaching this assembly and they all just scattered. But everybody could understand this is a self-realized soul. And so they put him, you know, they elected to give him the seat of Vyasadeva. That's called the Vyasadeva. That's what Parashana Maharaj was going. His birthday celebration is called Vyas Puj because he sits on the seat of Vyas. He's a representative of Vyasadeva. Vyas Puj means worship of Vyas. We're not worshiping a personality. It's not a personality cult. We're worshiping the original source of everything, and Vyasadeva was the speaker of the Bhagavatam, and we follow in the disciplic succession from Brahma, Narada, Vyas. That's the disciplic succession. First was Brahma. He's the creator of the universe. He was the first created living entity. There are various sampradayas, but we're in the Brahma sampradaya. That's our disciplic succession. First is Brahma, then is Narada, then is Vyasadeva, then is Shukadev Goswami, and then on down all the way from 5,000 years ago. But yeah, he was a pretty young man, but he was so learned. In fact, he was self-realized even before he came out of the womb. In the womb, he didn't want to come out because he said that, you know, he thought to himself, this material world sucks. I don't want to come out of the womb. So he stayed in the womb for 9 years. And finally, you know, he came out after his father kind of like talked to him outside the womb and said, look, I'll teach you about Krishna. And so he had a reason to come out.
Wow.
So anyway, go ahead with the purport. Oh, did I read that? I didn't read the translation yet, did I?
No, you didn't read that.
Oh, Shonaka said, "Oh, Sutta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Shukadev Goswami."
The purport is the Sutta Goswami is twice addressed here in by Sanatana Goswami out of the great joy because he and the members of the assembly were eager to hear the text of the Bhagavatam uttered by Sukadeva Goswami. They were not interested in hearing it from a bogus person who would interpret in his own way to suit his own purpose. Generally, the so-called Bhagavatam reciters are either professional readers or so-called learned impersonalists who cannot enter into the transcendental personal activities of the Supreme Person. Such impersonalists twist some meaning out of the Bhagavatam to suit and support impersonalist views, and the professional reader at once goes to the 10th canto to explain the most confidential part of the Lord's pastimes. Neither of these reciters are bona fide people to recite Bhagavatam. Only one is prepared to present Bhagavatam in the light of the Sukadeva Goswami, and only Those who are prepared to hear Sukadeva Goswami and his representatives are bona fide participants in the transcendental discussion of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different, like, there's professional reciters, in India. They have like a sapta kata, like a 7-day recitation of the 10th canto. So they jump right to the 10th canto without going into through any of the other cantos, because they think it's some kind of sex literature, and they get some titillation out of talking about the loving affairs between Radha and Krishna. But that's way above their head, and they pollute the whole thing, and they mislead people, and people aren't going to get any benefit out of it, and it's actually offensive. So it says, don't listen to professional reciters, or don't try to listen to like impersonalists who think that Krishna is Maya. Just like Prabhupada originally in the 26th Second Avenue, he didn't have the Bhagavad Gita yet. And so he was reading from Ramakrishna's version. And one purport, where in a ninth canto or ninth chapter, where Krishna says, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer obeisances to me, being completely absorbed in me, surely you'll come to me. And so, and Prabhupada explained that, the guy that his book he was reading from made a purport was completely the opposite of what Krishna was meaning. He said, it's not to Krishna that we have to surrender, but to the unborn within Krishna. And Prabhupada just like slammed him, And my spiritual master was a young man at that time, Keith. He later became Kirtanananda. He said, "Well, I kind of agree with him. The impersonal aspect of Krishna is like within everyone. Like the soul. We're it's like he cited all these different references from different Western philosophers like Blake and Milton, and all these different things. And Prabhupada was just sitting there patiently listening to him. And then, just like when a child is acting up, the parent will say, okay, are you finished? And so Prabhupada said that, are you finished? And then he just kept going. He started, he's a pretty smart guy, Kirtanananda. And so he kept on reciting different references to support his view that it's the unborn within Krishna that we have to surrender to. And Prabhupada finally said, okay, are you finished? And Kirtananda said, Keith said, yes, I'm finished. He says, okay. So now you understand that the message of Bhagavad Gita is that we should render service to Krishna and surrender to Krishna, right? And he said, yes. He said that service is due to Krishna, right? He said, yes. And so Prabhupada immediately, he slammed his fist down on the dais and startled everybody in the room and said, so why are you trying to take it away from him? It's to Krishna that you have to surrender, not to some unborn within Krishna. Krishna is inside and outside are the same. He's the same person. His body and his soul are the same. It's not a different personality. He says, so it's to Krishna. And him and Hayagriva was a friend of Keith's, and Wally, he later became Umapati. He said, wow, did you see how angry he got? Yeah, he was. I saw him turn red. He was really angry. And he said, I've never seen him like that before. It was as if a lion had pounced on the dais, And Wally said, Umapati, he said, yeah, but he's right, because we've read all kinds of Bhagavad Gitas before we met Prabhupada. Did you ever think of serving Krishna or surrendering to Krishna? He said, no. He had to admit that he never even thought of it. It's because we're so jaded with our materialistic activities and our sense gratification. And we have no idea what it means to serve Krishna in transcendental, in personal service. We have no idea what it means activity on the transcendental plane. We have no idea what personal activity is because of our jaded mentality. We are all impersonalists. And that's why Prabhupada had to yell to wake those early followers up. He had to like shake them up, otherwise they wouldn't understand, this is all nonsense. It's the Krishna. He would yell at them. So it's very, that's what the guru has to do, because we're just so dull-headed. We don't have no idea what real the transcendental platform is, where we're acting for Krishna on the transcendental platform. We're all like so involved with ourselves, we don't know what it means we don't know what activities on personal activities are on that to Krishna, because we're impersonalists basically. So that was like an interesting pastime. And everybody was looking at Keith as if he was like a persona non grata, and it was surprising to them because he was usually so intelligent, but Prabhupada like displayed like how we were all infected by this impersonal mentality. See, they try to twist some meaning out of the Bhagavatam to suit and support their impersonalist views. And that's what Keith was trying to do. And Prabhupada smashed him. He didn't tolerate impersonalists. That was like, it's really a kind of a unique feature of our disciplic succession. Some of the previous acharyas were like really almost like a jihad against the impersonalists, because the impersonal mentality Lord Chaitanya said, once you start reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll see that if you absorb yourself in these impersonalist philosophy of Shankara, who's actually Lord Shiva, Krishna told him to put this out there just to bewilder people. I don't know why. It's like, because there's some purpose to it. Anyway, he told him to talk about this impersonal philosophy just to bewilder the atheists. And so he did. And therefore, but Lord Chaitanya said, this is like poison. If you listen to this Mayavad, this impersonalist philosophy, you're doomed. Your spiritual life is doomed, because it sticks in your brain and you can't get it out of your brain. And so we have to stick to the personal conception of God. We have to understand Krishna is a person, and the spiritual master is also a person, and persons can get angry. Krishna, the gopis had loving affairs with Krishna. That's a personal relationship. And similarly, Arjuna got angry in the battlefield. And similarly, the spiritual master had to get angry just to wake up his followers. So that's a personal conception. It's not some light or some impersonal within Krishna. It's all nonsense. You can't meditate on anything impersonal. You have to have a relationship. Text 3. Kasmin yuge prabhavat yam staneva kena hetuna kuta sanchodita Krishna kritavan samhitam muni. Synonyms: Kasmin, in which, yuge, period, pravrita was begun, iyam, this, stane, in the place, va, or kena, on what, hetuna, ground, kuta, where from, sanchodita, inspired, Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, Kirtavan, compiles Samhita, Vedic literature, Muni, the learned. Translation: in what period and at what place was this first begun, and why was this taken up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayana Vyas, the great sage, get the inspiration to compile this literature? Go ahead.
The purport is because the Srimad Bhagavatam is the special contribution of Srila Vyasadeva. There are so many inquiries by the learned Sanaka Muni. It was known to them that Srila Vyasadeva had already explained the text of the Vedas in various ways up to the Mahabharata. For the understanding of less intelligent women, the Sudras, and fallen members of the family of twice born men. The Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental to all them because it has nothing to do with anything mundane. So the inquiries are very intelligent and relevant.
Text 4. Tasya putra Mahayogi Samadrin Nivikalpaka Ekantamattir Unidro Gudho Medha Mudha Ivayate. Synonyms. Tasya, his putra, son. Mahayogi, a great devotee. Samadrik, equibalanced. Nivikalpaka, absolute monist. Ekantamati, fixed in monism or oneness of mind. See, that's the way Shukadeva Goswami, his son, was born that way. In the womb, he was already equibalanced, absolute monist. Oneness. He was like merged in the Supreme, thinking that I'm one with the Supreme. Unidra, that's not the highest thing, but by the way, but it is transcendental. Unidra, surpassed nescience. Guda, not exposed. Mudha, stunted. Eva, like. Iate, appears like. Translation, his, Vyasadev's son, was a great devotee, an equibalanced monist whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being unexposed, he appeared like an ignorant person. Yeah, he was walking around naked. He appeared like an ignorant soul, but he was actually he was like on the transcendental platform. Go ahead.
The purport is Srila Sukadeva Goswami was like a liberated soul, and thus he remained always alert not to be trapped in the illusory energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, this alertness is very elucidative. Explained the liberated soul and the conditioned soul have different engagements. The liberated soul is always engaged in the progressive path of the spiritual attainment, which is something like a dream for the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul cannot imagine the actual engagements of the liberated soul. While the conditioned soul thus dreams about spiritual engagements, the liberated soul is awake. Similarly, the engagement of a conditioned soul appears to be a dream for the liberated soul. A conditioned soul and a liberated soul may apparently be on the same platform, but factually they are differently engaged, and their attention is always alert, either in sense enjoyment or in self-realization. The conditioned soul is absorbed in matter, whereas the liberated soul is completely indifferent to matter. The indifference is explained as follows.
Yeah, there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says, what's day time for the conditioned soul is night for the liberated sage. It's like, we're old, so we go to bed kind of early. We go to bed at 9 o'clock. But that's when all the bars are just starting up downtown, on Carson Street. Not interested in that. But, and then what's day for the condition for the enlightened sage is night for the the liberated persons. The best time to engage in Krishna consciousness is like before the sun rises. If you get up early, that's the best time, most auspicious time to absorb yourself in Krishna and chant prayers and your japa and everything else is before sunrise, like an hour or two before sunrise. And that's what time devotees get up. And so that's night for everybody else. Everybody else is sleeping until noon. It's like my wife, she tries to see people in their houses, and they'll say, well, can I come at 9:30? And they'll say, in the morning? Yeah, no, at night. No, it's in the morning. Of course, in the morning. She loves to get people that like agree to come in the morning because she's got a full day. She's like slammed today. She'll probably be working until about 9 o'clock tonight on the computer because she had 2 admissions and 5 visits, and she was like, the visits were really hard. I couldn't do it like she does. It's like too much work. She doesn't have a life pretty much. But the next 9 days, she's got 9 days off after starting on Friday. That the day after Thanksgiving, she's arranged to have a vacation, so much needed vacation. But I can work wherever I want. I was going to work today. I decided not to. I'm just a lazy bum, But we've got enough money, we can get by. Text 5. I think we got like 4 minutes left here. Drisvanu yantam risham atmajam api angagam nam devyo hriyaya paridadur nasutasya chitram tad viksya prachati mano jagadus tvadas tavasti Sripumbida natu sutasya vivekta drishte. Translation or synonyms. Drisva, by seeing, anu yantam, following, Rishim, the sage, Atmajam, his son, api, in spite of, anagnam, not naked, devya, beautiful damsels, raya, out of shyness, paribudadu, covered the body, not sutasya, of the sun, chitram, astonishing, tat viksya, by seeing that, prichati, asking, munya, unto the sage Muni Vyas, Jagadu replied, Tava, your, asti, there are stripum, male and female, beta, differences, not, two, but, sutasya, of the sun, vivikta, purified, driste, of one who looks. Translation. While Srila Vyasadeva was following his son, beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with cloth, although Srila Vyasadeva himself was not naked. They had not done this when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them, made no distinction between male and female. But the sage made such distinctions. Now we're going to have to stop here. Have any questions?
I'm noticing, like, from when I read the Vedic literatures, like of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, and so forth, and even, but there was like war before Kali, and then there was some sickness. Was there even body like birth, old age, death, and disease, and violence even before Kali Yoga?
Before the age of Kali?
Yeah, like if somebody died.
There was sickness and death. There's 4 ages. I mean, but people used to live a long time. In the Golden Age in Satya Yuga, they used to live for 100,000 years, so they could sit and meditate. There wasn't the 4 divisions of human life. There was just like everybody was a Brahmana pretty much, and everybody was self-realized in the mode of goodness, and they could automatically think of Krishna without any effort. And then so that the mode of worship was meditation. And in the Treta age, the mode of worship was sacrifice. In the Dwapara age, the mode of worship was deity worship in the temple. And then the Kali age, the mode of worship is just chanting. You can't do anything but chant. Anyway, thank you for coming out. Like my next door neighbor didn't come, and Melissa was doing Thanksgiving crap. But Brian is sick. He's got COVID. That's why nobody else showed up. Anyway, we'll see you next week, and we'll see you on Sunday, probably, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep in touch with you on. I'll keep in touch on that.
All right. Bye.
All right.